Good morning.
Hi, Tyler.
How are you doing?
I'm trying to make sure I got all the training stuff that Joanne went over a couple weeks ago in my head because I haven't thought about it till today.
I mean, it happens. It's okay. It's okay.
So I'm ready for the YouTube thing. I got to make you a co-host.
Correct.
And then Doug a co-host. And I don't know who's the social hour person, but I'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Maybe Linda Burke. I don't know. And then I think and then there's chat stuff, but that's easy enough. So
yeah, we can figure that out as we go.
How are you?
Doing well this morning for all things given. A cup of coffee is already in the system, so that feels good.
Oh, I got up at 4:30 this morning to watch the Australian Open finals, which was kind of not exciting as I hoped, but Djokovic won. I don't know if you're a tennis fan or not, but I was so happy Naomi Osaka won the other day. So it's cool stuff. It's just.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, no, I am a tennis fan. I used to play tennis until I rolled my ankle one time too many, and I was like, okay, we're done. We can't do this anymore.
Yes,
so,
it's tough. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So, that was exciting, but I feel like it's mid-afternoon already.
Yes, you started quite early today.
Let me let Doug in, and then I'm going to upgrade you guys and see if there's anything to chat about.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hi, Doug. Oops.
Mm, mm.
So I've made you guys both co-hosts. I'm ready to do the YouTube live. I will open stuff up at 9:40. Is that right, Doug?
Right. There's 20 minutes of in-gathering music.
Okay, and then I'm gonna, between now and then, I'm just gonna check, see who's the social hour person today.
That will work. Is there really 20 minutes of in-gathering music?
There is, yes.
Okay, that's a lot.
It is.
I was told we were only doing 10, but okay.
Well, you have to talk to Yvonne about that. She's the one who submitted it.
Yes, well, I will. That is all right. We will talk about that. Thank you both so much for always being so wonderful. I really do appreciate y'all.
I think Yvonne was not happy about us looping some of the stuff she gave in the past. So she wanted to make sure that we had enough.
Okay. I mean, that's really great. I love an abundant spirit. That's really wonderful.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna turn my video and audio off. I've got the communication if we need, okay?
Right.
And Linda Burke is the social hour person, so we'll be ready for that too.
Most wonderful.
Am I gonna have to spotlight anybody today? Do you know?
Probably just me at my speaking moments, which are welcome and announcements, prayer, benediction, and the offertory.
Okay, I'm gonna have to figure out where to find that spotlight thing.
No problem. And if worse comes to worse, I can always do it too, because I'm gonna be clicking behind the scenes as well. So don't worry about it if you miss
You
it.
might have to help with that part, sorry.
No need to apologize. We can do that. That's easy.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Can everyone see my screen?
Sure can. Looks great.
Okay, good.
I just want to make sure Beck, or what's her name, can get
Becky,
these.
she says she started live stream.
Okay, super.
Requesting permission for co-host for Carolyn White.
Good morning and welcome to Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. My name is Tyler Coles, and I serve this community as your intern minister. Whether you are new to this community or a longtime member, no matter what propelled you to set aside this time and join us here in worship, know that your whole self, your whole history and future is welcomed here. We especially welcome our visitors this morning. You are invited to stay after worship for our social hour, and if you would like to be in touch to learn more or to get involved, please send an email to info@mvuc.org. That is info, I-N-F-O, @mvuc.org. Mount Vernon Unitarian Church is a community dedicated to welcoming, working for justice wherever the heavy weight of oppression has dug itself into the fabric of life. And to that effort, we counter the doctrine of discovery by naming and honoring the indigenous inhabitants and keepers of this land, the Piscataway, the Powhatan, and the Dogue. In this time of an increased uncertainty when we are unable to gather in person, we gather virtually to find comfort and to recommit ourselves to the mission of supporting one another in our spiritual journeys, working for the care of the earth and building the common good. We gather to recommit ourselves to dismantling systems of oppression and injustice. And it is so good to be together in this work of creating the beloved community here on earth. Before our worship begins, there are a few announcements that I would like to share with you all. As many of you know, we have asked you to turn off your cameras and to allow you to move around without distracting one another. If you find yourself having technical issues, please feel free to message the MVUC admin host. Otherwise, the chat box will be enabled for all to use during certain portions of worship. Following the postlude, everyone is invited to turn on your cameras so that you can greet one another with a wave and hello. But please wait to the very end when I give you the green light. Additionally, lasagna lessons are being offered on Saturday, March 6th at 12 o'clock high noon as part of MVUC's variety show, all of which is to support the coming of age class who are going on their trip to Boston. Later in that afternoon is the virtual variety show, which begins at 7 p.m. Participants with various talents, no matter if you like to sing or share poetry or play an instrument or do a creative reading, are welcome to contribute recorded performances to Ann Richards. And if you have any questions or you would like to participate, please feel free to contact the event MC, Linda Jemison. To find out more information about these and other announcements, please look to this Sunday's bulletin. Likewise, please continue to look to your emails, phones, and website for continued updates about worship and other church happenings during this time of sheltering in place and physical distancing. We know many of you, myself included, feel alone, feel isolated, and miss one another. We encourage you to participate however you can in the neighborhood covenant groups, picking up the phone and calling one another and emailing one another. Lastly, this morning we welcome to the pulpit the Reverend Renée Ruchotzke, who is a congregational life consultant in the Central East region, the region we are a part of, and where she provides a number of vital resources for congregations and communities within our tradition, such as Leadership Lab and the Leadership Institute. A graduate of Meadville Lombard Theological School, Reverend Ruchotzke was ordained in 2010 by the Unitarian Universalist Church of Kent, where she now teaches middle school aged religious education. Residing in Kent, Ohio with her spouse, Randy, they both practice sustainable living with solar panels, an electric car, a backyard permaculture food forest, and a front yard pollinator on their city lot. It is a blessing, and we give thanks for Reverend Ruchotzke joining us by video this morning. I invite you all now to still and settle yourselves, no matter where you might be. Place your hand upon your heart and take a few deep breaths to center ourselves in this time of worship. Breathe with me. Come, let us enter into this time of worship with one another. Will you join with me as we light our individual and collective chalices? We kindle this flame, honoring the flow of time in which we are a part, tenderly mindful of the mutuality that has brought us into being and has sustained us throughout our days. May we allow ourselves this moment to gather with one another, to open our hearts and minds to this opportunity of recreation, restoration, and transformation. With gracious spirits accompanied by the wisdom, energy, and fortitude of all the generations who are here now, who have come before us and who will most certainly follow. Ashe, so be it, and amen.
Please join me in singing from your teal hymnal, hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we trust the wisdom in each of us, every color, every creed and kind, and we see our faces in each other's eyes, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we tell our story from deep inside, and we listen with a loving mind, and we hear our voices in each other's words, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place, we are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when we share the silence of sacred space, and the God of our heart stirs within, and we feel the power of each other's faith, then our heart is in a holy place. When our heart is in a holy place, then our heart is in a holy place. We are blessed with love and amazing grace. When our heart is in a holy place, when our heart is in a holy place.
I invite you now, from wherever you may be, to bring your voices out in reciting our covenant as the words are found on your screen. Love is the teaching of this church. The quest of truth is its daily task, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve life in community, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony. This is our covenant with each and with all.
My Nana and Me by Irene Smalls, illustrated by Kathy Ann Johnson. My Nana and me had a tea party, and all my dolls came. We had tea and cake and ate bread pudding and apple pie. I wore Nana's Sunday hat and shoes, and I put on a show. I danced like a ballerina and sang. My Nana clapped and clapped and clapped. Then we played hide and seek. My Nana can never find me. I am the smartest girl in the world. I know, because my Nana told me so, and she knows everything. My Nana's a giant. She's so tall, she can reach and touch the sky. She has a big, long skirt that I hide behind sometimes. Then Nana calls me her baby girl, but I'm not a baby. I'm big. My Nana gets down on her knees to talk to me. We rub noses. I comb and plait my Nana's hair, overbraid and underbraid, overbraid and underbraid. Next, we play pat a cake till 8:30. That's when I take a bath. My Nana washes me with hands that tickle my nose and dance on my back as she sings, Aunchy, Munchy, Bunchy, Bunch, Aunchy, Munchy, Bunchy, Bunch. She calls me her sweetening girl and laughs and laughs and laughs. She sits me on her knee and reads to me story after story after story. When I ask Nana why am I her sweetening girl, Nana says, because there's a sky, because there's a sea, but mostly because there is me. Then Nana, such a sleepyhead, lies down on my bed, and then so do I.
Hi, we're the Clark Emerson family here at Mount Vernon Unitarian Church, and we wanted to come over to the church grounds today to let all of you see a little bit of the area, since you're not getting to come here in person so much. But we wanted to introduce ourselves. My name is Chris Clark.
I'm Kyle Clark.
I'm Brett Emerson.
I'm Zachary Clark.
And we just wanted to tell you briefly a little bit about why we continue to come to Mount Vernon Unitarian Church. This year has been, of course, a tough year for a lot of people, and I know that I enjoy this community very much, and I've enjoyed it a lot over the past year. It's been a great place of peaceful contemplation and a lot of connection on Sundays that has made a big difference for me over the course of the year.
I like coming to Mount Vernon Unitarian Church for the community. I like its inclusiveness, and particularly in the last 2 years, I like how the church itself and Unitarianism as a whole has been examining itself and evolving on how it treats people of color. And for us, it's important in our family, and I'm loving that the church is totally involved in this.
I like to sit through the service with my with my friends because I get to see everyone and I get to enjoy spending time with them at church.
I like coming to Mount Vernon Unitarian Church because I can hang out with my friends during coffee hour, run around, burn off some energy. It's also really fun to go to RE with them in person, where you can sit around a table and talk.
So those are just a few of the reasons that we continue to make this community our church home, and we can't wait to get back to seeing you all in person here on Sundays. I hope the church is going to buy maybe an extra coffee pot because I think we're going to need it every Sunday. So thank you very much, and we look forward to seeing you back here soon.
Thank you all so much for sharing your story and your appreciation and love for this community, as I know this community deeply appreciates and cares for your family. Mount Vernon Unitarian Church continues to share the plate with committed organizations that you, our members, have chosen. Our community partners this month of February with No Child Goes Hungry, an organization working at the local level to eliminate childhood hunger, one kid, one meal at a time. For more information on this wonderful organization, please see your Sunday bulletin. We split the offering 50-50 between this organization and MVUC unless otherwise directed by you. You are welcome to write a check and mail it to the church office, make a payment via text or the church account. For more information on these options, please see the slides now showing or those now showing in your chat box. During this time of music, the chat is open where you are invited to share with your community, with our community, the joys and sorrows that you hold within your heart. Come, let us enter into this time with one another. The offering will now be received.
If I could choose just a single element of the traditional teachings that we're called to pick up, it would be the teachings of the honorable harvest, which were taught us by the plants, who give us everything that we need. It's a covenant of reciprocity between humans and the living world, a very sophisticated ethical protocol. One of the first steps of the honorable harvest is to understand that the lives that we are taking are the lives of generous beings, of sovereign beings. And in order to accept their gift, we owe them at least our attention. To care for them, we must know what they need. And at the very minimum, we should know their names. And yet, the average American can name over 100 corporate logos and 10 plants. Is it a surprise that we have accepted a political system that grants personhood to corporations and no status at all for wild rice and redwoods? The protocols for the honorable harvest are not really written down, but if they were, it would look something like this. When you get to the woods, you don't just start grabbing everything in sight. We're taught never to take the first plant that you see, and that means you'll never take the last. This is a prescription with inherent conservation value. And then if we encounter another plant, we ask permission. I've always been taught to address that plant, to introduce myself, and tell it what it is that I have come for. If you're going to take a life, you have to be personally accountable for it. I know there are places where if you talk to a plant, they think you were crazy, but in our way, it's just good manners. If you're going to ask, you have to listen for the answer. You can listen in different ways, pragmatically, intuitively. Look around, see whether those plants have enough to share. And if the answer is no, you go home. For we remember that they don't belong to us. And taking without permission is also known as stealing. And the Honorable Harvest counsels that we also take in such a way that does the least harm and in a way that benefits the growth of the plant. Use everything that you take. It's disrespectful of the life that's given to waste it. The next tenet of the honorable harvest is to share it with others, human and non. The earth has shared generously with us, so we have to model that behavior in return. And a culture of sharing, we know, is a culture of resilience. Plant gatherers often leave a spiritual gift behind, but it can also be a material gift. Weeding, caretaking, spreading seeds, helping those plants to flourish. We give songs, we give ceremony, we give our respect, we give fertilizer. Every breath that you take is a breath that was made for you by plants. On the water that you drink, whether you're in an urban setting, whether you're on a remote mountaintop, we still are recipients of those gifts. And if we take the time to be grateful, that brings us into that state of humility, of understanding that we are not at the top of a biological hierarchy, that in fact we are the younger brothers of creation.
Will you join with me now in this time of meditation, silence, and prayer? Empty your hands of whatever it is that you hold. Breathe deeply into your body, into your belly. Feel the seat below yourself, maybe even your feet upon the earth. Breathe with me. And let us pray. Spirit of life, of love, you who are the honorable harvest, hold us in this moment in which we feel that despair is far too great. When we feel isolated and alone, hold us in this moment. Hold us that we might know that there is a new day rising, that the next season indeed will come, though unknown. We here with one another, known and unknown beloveds, will carry us and see us through. Hold us in this time of complexity when sorrow and joy live simultaneously with one another. Hold us tenderly and carefully. In a world ravaged by poverty, greed, and despair, may we know that we are the keepers of the abundant fields of life. Bless us that we might bless one another, for we are the honorable harvest ourselves. May we tend to the beloved community on earth as it is in heaven, in the ways we share and care for one another, create and make joy with one another, and support this earth and create justice. For all those things spoken tenderly, aloud, and held tenderly within our hearts and minds, we pray. Ashe, so be it, and amen.
As seasons come and go, the hand that shaped the rose hath brought the crystal of the snow, hath sent the hoary frost of earth, the flowing waters sealed, and laid a silent loveliness on hill and wood and field. O'er white expanses sparkling clear, the radiant morns unfold, the solemn splendors of the night burn brighter through the cold. Life mounts in every throbbing vein, love deepens round the hearth, and clearer sounds the angel hymn. Goodwill to all on earth.
One of the spiritual practices that my spouse and I have taken up since the beginning of the pandemic is to go hiking in the woods several times a week. Where we live, we are blessed with a network of park systems, from the Cuyahoga National Park to several county park systems to city parks. There are also many state natural preserves and wildlife sanctuaries that are close by, with trails for us humans. We visit the closest parks quite regularly, as you might expect, and have enjoyed watching the changes over the seasons. Back in early spring, we noted the trillium, the trout lilies, and the wild ginger. We learned how to identify elm trees so that we could forage for their companion fungi, the morel mushroom. We watched the redbuds and dogwoods flower, and watch the buds on the trees leaf out into so many shades of green. We learned to recognize and appreciate more and more trees. We noted the trunk sizes and the mix of tree varieties, and tried to guess the age of second growth forests. We visited old growth forests to note the differences. As summer turned to fall, We watched the leaves turn into reds and golds and noted the chanterelles on the forest floor and the hen of the woods on the tree trunks. As the leaves made their journey to the forest floor, we noticed the colors and textures of tree trunks and branches and tried to match the trees to leaves littering the ground. We noticed the understory of canes, shoots, and branches. We noted the red berries of the honeysuckle, the black berries of the buckthorn, and the red and yellow combination of bittersweet. We could also observe the contour of the land, including ponds and marshes that were hidden by the summer's foliage. Along with paying attention to what was happening in the woods over the summer and throughout the year, we've been paying even closer attention to our backyard garden. We have been attempting to practice permaculture, which is a way of working with nature to grow things that are useful for humans. Permaculture draws on indigenous practices that are grounded in a world's view that is worlds away from our Western culture of extraction and exploitation. It's a worldview where humans are a part of nature, not apart from nature. It is a worldview of mutuality and gratitude. A couple of years ago, I had the blessing of a 3-month sabbatical. I took some of the time learning about permaculture. I took a 2-week intensive residential certificate course, and my spouse and I landscaped our backyard. I also toured the Baltics for a month. I spent most of my time in Latvia, where my father was born and where I still have cousins. I timed my trip so I could be there for the summer solstice, and I arranged it so that my son and daughter could join me for that week. Growing up, my family had always celebrated the summer solstice with the Latvian community in western Michigan out in the country. We would gather at a farm under a grove of oak trees. The women made wreaths for us to wear on our heads, oak leaves for the men and crowns of flowers for the women and girls. As the dark descended, the men lit a fire in a basket that was attached to a pole. Once the pole was raised and secured so that the fire was burning above our heads, the singing would begin. The celebration would go on until sunrise. With this child's memory of snippets of this annual feast day, I arrived in Latvia hoping to learn more. After visiting some family in Riga, I headed for a week as a woofer on a Latvian permaculture farm near the Russian border in a place called Latgalia. Woofing is a program where people can work on an organic farm in exchange for room and board. Along with some permaculture practices, the farm family that I stayed with exposed me to many folk traditions. The folk traditions are based on the Baltic version of the pagan Wheel of the Year. Each quarter, the solstices and the equinoxes, and cross quarter, the halfway points between the quarters, has tasks associated with planting and harvesting. The family had only been working on the farm for about a decade, so I asked them, "How did you learn about all this folklore?" I had collected English translations of Latvian folk tales over the years, but they shed very little light on the culture. The family said, "Oh, it's all in our folk songs." They proceeded to bring out a 12-volume set of books containing tens of thousands of 4-line folk songs, known as dainas. Everything you need to know about being Latvian is in these songs. Many of the songs reveal a soul-deep connection to nature. Here is an example. Sunlight in the evening scatters, gifts upon the forest treetops. Golden crown upon the linden, silver crown upon the oak. Leaves of diamond on the birch tree, golden rings upon the pussy willow. The Latvians' reverence for trees that is expressed in song is also expressed in how they care for trees. They will support a droopy tree limb instead of trimming it off. My son noticed how new buildings would be designed and placed so that existing trees would not be disturbed. Other songs talk about the cycles of life and the cycles of the year. Ensuring a good harvest was a matter of life and death, since the stores needed to last through a long, cold winter. The symbols on the solar candle reflect this. Yani, or the summer solstice, coincides with the first hay harvest. Yumyi is celebrated in early August by making the first loaf of bread from the new rye harvest. Its symbol is 2 crossed shafts of rye, the heads hanging heavy with grain. Ophumimus, the fall equinox, adds root vegetables to the shape. These harvests are an opportunity for gratitude for the bounty of nature. The next season, in the late fall, starting in early November, is called Martigny. The harvest is done and everything is buttoned up for the season. The days are getting noticeably shorter. They get really short at the Latvian latitude of 57 degrees to the north. By winter solstice, there is only 6 hours and 45 minutes between sunrise and sunset. The symbol of Martigny has several meanings that signal resilience. It has 2 stylized roosters who are the messengers of light. They remind us that even as the days grow shorter, the light will return. The second meaning is that we need to huddle together like the roosters are doing, because we need the light and warmth of family and friends. The third meaning shows a hardier root as compared to the fall equinox symbol. This reassures us that the life force that lies dormant is stored in the roots of the forest, as well as in the harvested beets and potatoes that are stored in the root cellar. These will sustain us as we hibernate during the next quarter year, through the winter solstice and toward spring. In practice, this is also a time when books are read while sitting near the hearth, books almost as numerous as the logs that are added to the fire. It is a time for the arts, for spinning, weaving, and needle arts. It's a time for cards and games. It's a time for playing music and singing, and learning or creating new songs for the next season of planting and harvesting. It's a time for mending and sharpening of tools for the next season of planting and harvesting. It's a season for rest and renewal after 3 seasons of labor. This is an old pattern of life for peoples who live with the winter season, and a pattern not unique to the peoples of Northern Europe. Indigenous people who live in what is now New England, New York, and Northern Ohio wintered together in longhouses. We know well how the European settlers displaced the Iroquois, who are more properly known as the Haudenosaunee, literally the people of the longhouses. In trying to learn more about these first peoples, I visited a replica of a longhouse at the Seneca Art and Culture Center at Ganadagan near Rochester, New York. In the replica, you can see how each family would have a cook fire along the axis of the longhouse. Food and fuel were stored around the sleeping platforms against the walls on either side of the fire. Here, the Haudenosaunee huddled during the winter months, living upon their stores. I share these snippets because they are a reminder of human resilience in a time of hardship. And I believe that building resilience is part of our work as a faith communities going forward. We know that in our heart of hearts, we are going to need to make big changes to face the impacts of climate change. The pandemic is just one warning signal. We can trace COVID's origin as a consequence of deforestation and habitat removal. We have multiple warning signals flashing like a vehicle's dashboard when a car is in trouble. In order to listen to our heart of hearts, we need to make time and space for reflection, for imagination, for conversation. The warmth of family and community, sitting in a circle around a fire or our virtual version of a fire, can serve as a crucible for creativity. The circle can serve as a circle for discernment in changing times, or as a balm for the spirit in times of grief and loss. Circles are a reminder that we need one another. We need the wisdom of the elder. We need the energy of the youth and young adult. We need the curiosity of the child. We need the determination of the middle adult. We need the nurturing of the aunties and the advice of the uncles. And we especially need the fresh, queer eyes of those who don't conform to any of these identities. This has implications for our congregations. We are one of the few places beyond the bonds of family where generations can come together. Our membership is weighted toward the elders, but our vitality depends on including and involving all the generations. Even though we can't safely meet around a hearth physically this winter, we can still kindle our fires and create circles that connect hearts. We can tell our stories to one another. We can listen to one another's hopes and fears. We can grieve together. And we can imagine better ways to live in community. We can imagine better ways to live with the earth. And we can move from imagination to action. Here and now, in the bleak midwinter, with snow on snow on snow, we can still give our hearts. However poor we might be in spirit or in wealth, we can still give our hearts. In spite of the frosty wind, in spite of the hard iron of the earth, in spite of the stone cold water, we can still give our hearts. Amen, and blessed be.
Would you turn in your gray hymnals to number 55, Dark of Winter? Dark of winter, soft and still, your quiet calm surrounds me. Let my thoughts go where they will, ease my mind profoundly, and then my soul will sing a song, a blessed song of love eternal. Gentle darkness, soft and still, bring your quiet to me. Darkness, soothe my weary eyes, that I may see more clearly. When my heart with sorrow cries, comfort and caress me, and then my soul may hear a voice, a still small voice of love eternal. Darkness, when my fears arise, let your peace flow through me.
will you join me as we unite our voices to recite the words to extinguish our chalice, words known within our hearts and can be found displayed upon your screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Will you join with me and prepare yourselves for the words of our benediction? Spirit of life, you who have brought us to this moment, hold us and guide us and charge us in the days, weeks, months ahead, for whatever it might be. May we know that we are the honorable harvest. We are each other's bond and abundance, as the poet Gwendolyn Brooks writes. May we care for one another. May we show up for one another. With this, we are renewed and go back out into the world to work again. Ashe, so be it, and amen. Good morning, everyone. It is